Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited today because I got news that some of my people got ITA, that is invitation to apply, last week. I'm super excited. I want to say congratulations to all those that were invited. We had 7,000 invitees, like wow. So a little recap on our last week's video where we spoke about documents to get in place immediately you receive your invitation to apply. If you missed that video, please check the link up there. If you're new here and you like to understand the process of getting your invitation to apply, check the videos on my channel and you'll understand better. Yeah, so welcome to my pre-landing episodes where we're going to be talking about next step and things to do while you are waiting for your permanent resident visa. If this sounds like something you like, please stick around with me and I'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. So let's get right into it. The official time frame for your permanent residence application to get approved is 6 months. Sometimes it takes less than 6 months and sometimes it goes more than a year. In my own case, it went almost more than a year. So during this process and during this time, IRCC just goes through to checking your eligibility to make sure that it checks out. They check your criminality to make sure that that also checks out. They check your medicals. I know there's a lot of checks that goes on around that time. I want to believe that's why it takes that long for your application to be approved. The first update you're going to get on your profile is your biometrics. Biometrics is valid for 10 years. So once you do the first biometrics, you wait till after 10 years before you do another biometrics. However, that is the first update. So in my own case, I got my biometrics request and I was super excited. Like some days after I submitted my application, that's the permanent resident application, I got biometrics request. So immediately I went to the visa office. I went there was this long queue. I was there like 6:30 a.m. and I got in, I got my biometrics done. I was super excited. Before I got home, I got an email saying that my biometrics was updated on my profile. Like I was like, what, this fast? I was super excited and I thought, okay, with this, I think I might get my, permanent resident visa approved in less than 3 months. Not knowing that, that was just me wishing and thinking that I was going to wait this time. I was going to wait for a long time to get my application approved. Then the next update you're going to get is medicals, of course. I did upfront medicals like I explained last week, and I also explained that there are two bodies that offer these services, which is IOM on the island and QLive on the mainland. And I also advise that you wait for IRCC to send you a request letter before you go for your medicals. I did not wait. I went for an upfront medicals. However, I just advise that you wait, and once you get that request letter, you can go for your medicals, and that will be updated in some days. Another tip I think you should please just take note of is the Canada pre-arrival services. These services actually helps people a lot. They help you to understand where you're landing. They help you to understand the culture. They advise you if you have questions about anything. They would advise you on anything you want. They would also help you in terms of job search, in terms of revamping your CV and all that. So I didn't use the pre-arrival services because in my head I just thought I was going to get my visa done in less than 2 months, and why waste time. But if I knew that went ahead and registered for these services. So I advise that please, people that register for these services before they arrive Canada have a lot of good things to say. So please go online and look for pre-landing services in Canada and make sure you register for them. Another tip is your resume revamp, of course. So the way we write our resume in Nigeria is way different from the way it is here. In Nigeria, you just put all your past experience. It doesn't matter if it aligns with the job you're applying to. Your resume might be like 6 pages long. Over here, you need to align your CV based on the job you are applying for. You understand? So you need to understand how it works and try to practice that by revamping your CV before you arrive here. You also should please note the province you are going to be landing in. Do your research about the province you're landing in, like the job market, how it works, what are the certifications you need to do. If you're into the IT space, I advise that you start, you start writing your certifications and, getting your certifications done in Nigeria. If you are into the medical field, you have to research, Google on the province, especially if you're not coming in as a provincial nominee. If you're coming in as a provincial nominee, then, you're just going to the province that has nominated you. You understand? And you have to live there for a certain number of years. But if you're coming in as just the permanent resident, you have the right to, land wherever you want to land. So you have that upper hand or upper opportunity to research on different provinces that you could land. One other tip you should also take into consideration while choosing a province to land is family ties. If you have any family anywhere, like, close relation, in-laws, I also advise that you land, those provinces, because, it gets to a time where you need all this family support and all that, especially when, there are just times that you need family support and you need family around you. There's this feeling you get when you know that, you have family around, right? So I always advise that you base your search on that. I also advise that you base your search on your experience. So if you're into like the oil and gas industry and you want to come and land in Ontario, I don't understand how. You understand? So you have to make research. Where's the best place for me to land, as that's with that experience of oil and gas I have? And that is Alberta. You understand? If you don't make that research, you would be landing in a place where you're not, where your experience is not needed. If you're in the IT space, you just make research, look for, provinces that that the job market for IT is booming, and you request, and you just land there. Yeah, so my next tip is that you check your socials. Try to keep your online business tidy. My dear, so there are cases where you've already filled your application, you've submitted everything, you've raised GCMS notes, everything is looking good, but you get a rejection mail. Why do you think that happens? There's some times where maybe in the past, while you're young, you've updated so many hate speeches, all this government related. Just try to tidy up your online presence. Let's say in your LinkedIn, you're saying that in 2014 you're a doctor, or you're a doctor in 2014 from this time to this time, and that same time in your application you wrote there that you were a lawyer, like you were doing something else. Like, that already contradicts everything. So please try to get your online presence to align with your application. Tidy up anything that you know that might affect your application. Go through all your socials, watch everything again, and say, okay, ask yourself, would this affect? If it does, please just take care of it and try to align yourself. Let everything tally according to the specifications and the requirements that IRCC has given you. So my next tip is that you check the expiry of your passport. This one happened to me personally. So there was one time I got additional request requirements. It's called ADR. The short form is ADR. So I got an ADR to submit my police certificate because it had expired. And I just went to the agency that does the police certificate. The police clearance certificate is located in Lagos at Alagbon. So I went there, and the agent that was attending to me just looked at it and like, your passport has 2 months to expire. And I was shocked. I was like, no, that's not possible. Sarah would have checked it. And my God, he gave it to me, and my passport was expiring in the next 2 months. And IRCC would not give you a visa, or would not stamp a visa on an expired or about to expire passport. It has to have about 6 months validity before a visa is issued on a passport. I was shocked. I was practically almost crying. Like, where do I start? I've waited like 8 months, and at the point of where, because for me to get an additional request for my police clearance means that something is about to happen, and my passport is 2 months to expire. I rushed down. If you guys know Alagbon very well, you know that there is the passport office is also close to Alagbon. I went straight into the passport office. I was practically almost begging for them to please help me with my passport. I explained my situation to them. And you know how this thing goes now. They told me, okay, that they'll work on it, and I should just go back and come back the next day. The next day I was right there very early. I did all the passport requirements and everything, and the wait started. Luckily for me, the day I went to collect my passport, guys, I was in that waiting room to get my passport, and I got another ADR to submit my passport. The way I shouted, like, whoa, God, like, seriously. So imagine that officer didn't, bring to my notice that my passport was already due. What would I have done? Like, how would I have started? You understand? So please don't make the same mistake that I made. Always check for your passport expiry. Check for your medical. Any document at all that have an expiry date, please always check on it. You don't get into a situation where you have to now start rushing to get these things done. My next tip is how to identify your visa office. So in my own case, I actually didn't know that there's an email where you just send a request to ask for your visa office. So what I did was that I raised a CSA, I raised a web form. And in that web form, I just requested an update on my application that it's been 3 months and I've not heard anything. And they just replied me saying that they have sent my request to the appropriate visa office and wrote my visa office. That was how I was able to check my visa office, or to know my visa office. But right now I'm opportune to know that there's an email that you can just send a request to, which I'll be putting down the description. So I just advise that you wait like 3 months before sending this mail. You'll get a notice, or you get a reply telling you where your visa office is. With the web form also, if there's any change in your family situation, let's say you're pregnant and you've given birth, or there's a change in your job, or there's a change, your phone number has changed, your address has changed, you use the web form to communicate to IRCC of any changes that have happened in your family. That is what the web form is for, because there are sometimes you can't call them before you get through to them and all that. So just use the web form and they'll reply you. The next step I took was that when this was about 8 months to 9 months and I hadn't heard anything, I raised a GCMS note, which means Global Case Management System. So the GCMS notes, once you're in Canada, if you live in Canada, you can raise the GCMS note right in Canada. But if you live outside Canada, you need a third party to raise the GCMS note for you. And the third party I used then was Get GCMS. And what they did was, they asked me for my information. I gave them authority to request for updates on my profile, which they did. I they replied me in about 35 to I think 40 days. And there with the GCMS notes, I could see a blueprint of my, all those things, all those information you didn't know about, like you weren't opportune to see. With the GCMS notes, you can. If you have any issues with the application, it goes as far as, when you request for the CBSA note, you get the note of the agent that is working with your profile. This is to say that, let's say the agent is not convinced that your POF is yours. You'll see the note there, the agent will write it there. So I raised the GCMS note when, I was tired of it and I needed to know what was happening with my application. And through the notes, I was able to see that they've finished my eligibility, they've done my background check, and and I was just waiting for a visa request from them. So that's what the notes do. I advise that if you've waited for a while, please just raise a GCMS note. Understand the level where your permanent resident application is at that moment. The second to the last advice that I have is that if you see any support group anywhere, I advise that you please join any support group. This actually helped me during my time, because it got to a time that I was really depressed about this weight. Someone introduced me to this, I call them my family right now, because almost all of us are here and we hang out and all that. But it started even during our pre-ITA days. And I remember then when even just one person gets ITA, we'll be sure. All of us then we had a visa office. Our visa office was Accra. We just belong to this group and we're waiting. If one person just gets their visa request, we call it golden mail that year. Like the way we would be happy, you'll be like, are you the one that got your visa? But it became like a family, and it actually helped me. they supported me during the times where I was down. I needed to vent. I would go there and vent. You know, today you're strong and someone is venting and you're advising the person. The next day you're down and you're venting and the person advises. So please, if you have a support group or you know any support group that you can join, please do so. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're on Telegram. Just do so. It helps me a lot. Last step I think you should take is, please do not sell your properties before you get your visa. Do not resign before you get your visa. My dear, there are cases I have heard where people resigned and people, sold their properties before they got their visa. And, it's the application didn't go through as planned. Please, just hold on. I know how impatient it can be. I was also impatient. I was eager to sell. I was like, oh God, if I get my visa now, when do I start selling? Let me start selling now. The visa is sure because I've, raised my GCMS note and I've seen that everything checks. Now let me just start selling. Please do not sell. Even on the IRCC website, they advise that you do not sell your properties or resign from your job before you get your visa. This is not even the gold email. When I mean visa, you will send your passport. They will stamp the visa. Once you get that passport and you're seeing your visa in front of your on your passport like this, you can resign immediately. That's no problem. But please, before then, keep your properties. Just make sure that you're doing all the steps that I have shared with you today, so you don't get bored or you don't get depressed during the wait time. Yeah, so thank you guys for staying to the end of this video. If you are a subscriber and you're already a part of this community, I say a very big thank you to you. I really do appreciate. If you're new to this channel and you would like to join this community, you like the content that I share, please subscribe, click the like button and turn on your notifications so you're notified when I drop any video, so you don't miss out on anything. And please kindly share this video to whoever might need this video. See you all next week, where we'll be talking about documents to carry along when you get your permanent resident visa. So then guys, have a lovely week. I love you. Bye.